Thank you for joining us once again. Welcome to the Daily Smoke. This is the Smoke Session. I'm Brother Jam.
Your boy Bobby Blackhand.
Brother Low Summer Camp.
And we have a special guest with us this evening. This is one of my best friends from childhood, one of my best friends to this day, my brother David Wilson. Thank you for joining us, Dave.
Thank you for having me. I've been waiting for this, man. I've been waiting for this ever since I found out you guys are doing this, man.
Hey, man, glad to have you on, brother. Glad to see you, man. It's been, what?
50 years.
Probably about
50 years.
maybe 5 years.
It's
longer than that?
Longer than that.
Damn.
It's been longer than
How
5.
do we do that, man? We keep doing that. We got to do better.
Life get busy, man.
Yeah, and then you get new phones, and all of a sudden, like you think you got all your stuff from your previous phone, and
Oh no, data has a way of disappearing into the ether, brother. I thought you knew. You don't know how many times I've had to replace memory cards on the phone, and I'm like, what?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
What is the point of the backup if it don't back nothing
don't
up?
back up. Exactly.
But nah, I feel you, man. But it's so good to see you, brother. Glad to have you on. Now, I know it's normally when a guest comes on, you're supposed to receive, the guest gets a gift, but Dave actually came bearing some gifts for us today, man. He brought us some of his toys inspired by those episodes where we had, Brother Ruck's toys and everything out here, and Brother Blackhand's toys out. So this is one of the figures that he brought for us, and this is I forgot his name already.
Called Big Spring, but
Big
it's from
Spring,
a company, third-party company called Open and Play.
But man, y'all check this
That's what
out.
it's called, Open and Play.
Yeah.
That's the name of the company that made it. But yeah, man, the articulation on this thing, the cut, it's a really nice piece.
This is supposed to be a Generation 1 Springer, made by a third party.
This is from
the Autobot
Transformers.
stickers on there is also from a third-party company called Toy Hacks.
Oh, really?
Toy Hacks, yeah, that's a company that you can actually.
Which one is he supposed to be?
This is Springer.
Springer.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the name of the character. He's a helicopter. He transformed into a helicopter.
And a car. It's triple change.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
A triple chain.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, the labels you see on there is from a company called Toy Hacks. So, they got a lot of third-party companies that are making Transformers, as you see, reimaginings of,
Different
classic
characters.
figures, I guess
Bring one of
modernization
those.
of them.
Yeah.
And also, going back to the classics. And you can go to this company, it's called toyhacks.com, and they have different labels. You can put, buy Decepticon symbols and labels, and as well as Autobots. So,
If I would have known you was coming with this, I would have brought my Megatron and all the rest of them.
We could have had a battle.
Yeah.
An hour of 40-year-old Negro slave playing with action figures.
so hey, look, it is what it is, okay?
Look, we might do that as a special aside episode. Put that out on a Saturday or something.
Animated.
Exactly.
do some stop motion animation. We'll put it together. Oh man. But yeah, dude, that's awesome. I freaking love these.
Man,
and okay, so we also got Megatron, and we got
Imagining of Megatron and Optimus Prime, and this is from a third-party company called Cross Dimension.
so now all of these aren't like the official Hasbro. These are literally other companies that have just decided to make their own versions of Transformers.
Exactly.
So-
I don't know if you remember back in the 80s, they had Hasbro came out with this commercial, and they had Peter Cullen, who was Optimus Prime, and Frank Welker was Megatron, speaking on the commercial. There's no one like us, this and that. Only we can wear this symbol, an Autobot, or this symbol, Decepticon symbol. This came out in I think 1985.
I think I do remember that.
Because there were a lot of companies back then. They had flea markets, Radio Shack. They was they were selling
The imitations.
Yeah. And to this day, what Shockwave has the what is that, the name they call them Shackwave, because that's what Radio Shack had a model of Shockwave, but it was a gray version. So
I remember that.
so they came out with that commercial, to say, that this,
the authentic
the
toy.
authentic Transformers. So, back then they were called knockoffs.
Yeah.
But, fast forward 30, 35 years, to the present, those knockoffs, have
Come a long
upgraded,
way,
have
yeah.
come a long way.
Wow.
So, now they call third party. So now you have these different versions, like I said, we either reimagining, a modernization of, or, redoing the classics.
I don't know if y'all.
What about GoBots? GoBots.
Let's let
That's
GoBots lay in their grave.
That's a whole nother subject.
But see, I don't know if y'all can
F
see.
GoBots.
If you are a person who likes toys, so you might recognize just off the back, like, this is Megatron. Of course, we all recognize this is Megatron, but like the sides and I haven't tried to transform it yet, but look, he's got an extra pair of barrels on the back which are posable. He's got different colorations, the red and the black and the gray, which is an awesome color for this character. I mean, look at this. This is a high quality. Like I said before, I don't even like to call these toys or action figures. I like to call these posable models, because posable statues. That's really what they are, because these are actually designed, when you look at them, to be art. It's not just. It's about the look of it, but it can also have the same functionality as the toys that we grew up with, knowing and loving and all of that. I love this kind of stuff, man. This stuff is so fucking cool. And look at this.
Oh yeah.
The posability, just I'm impressed with these. So yeah, I think I know what my new hobby's gonna be now. My brothers have inspired me to start collecting some figures again.
How have you not started? Like,
Man, I have a couple pieces thanks to Brother B. He's given to me as gifts over the years.
because I know
So-
Ruck got about 800 Macross and
He
Robotech.
he has his own museum.
Yeah. Ruck really does have like a museum of he used to work at Bedrock.
See,
So he had direct access.
You know what?
You know?
He always had them dream jobs. Like, I love Ruck. What did you be wanting to slap him? Like, man, really? You think you could have emailed the brother or something? Hey, man, look, but
I only had one dream job, and that was working at Tilt, watching other people play video games. That was my dream job. And getting paid to just pass out quarters and watch people just watch video games.
hey, you're right. Hey, it is what it is, man. But but as you can see, the so-called knockoffs there, they don't call them knockoffs anymore. They call them third party. And whoever the engineers are at these different companies they're insane. I mean, just the level, like I said, articulation, the engineering that goes into
Look at that waist movement, man.
Yeah.
And it's
That's what she
smooth
said.
too. And it's smooth too, but yeah. Oh man. So that's pretty freaking cool, dude. Thanks for bringing this to us, man. And
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
glad to have you on the show, brother, man. Good to see you,
Glad
man.
to be here, man. Glad to be here.
So we came tonight to talk about Star Trek, Star Wars.
Okay.
Now, I know in the title we said Star Trek versus Star Wars, but
It's really no versus.
yeah,
Really
let's
no
be
versus.
honest. We're not talking about a battle between the two, because honestly, that would just be boring.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen actually like fan movies on YouTube where people have decided to like animate, versions of like a Star Wars fleet
Yeah.
versus a Star Trek fleet and stuff like that. So that's cool and all, but I just really wanted to talk about it as much as like we all grew up, especially since we all around the same age. We all grew up watching Star Wars and Star
I'm
Trek.
younger than y'all.
Bobby, you old as dirt. Bobby,
Because I lived next to Jesus when he was born, don't mean nothing.
that nigga Bobby knew Methuselah back when they was in high school together.
You can speak.
On my feet now. Okay.
So, but yeah, man. I mean, I know for me growing up, I was more into Star Trek when I was a kid versus Star Wars. I got into Star Wars later on when I was like maybe in my early 20s when I really got an interest in Star Wars. But I grew up watching Star Trek. I mean, reruns galore back in the original series. And it was just one of those things, man, that really just made, my imagination fly, because back then you'd be watching those, kind of shows, and you look at it and everything was so, I mean, of course you had the obvious things. Everything was slick, the automatic doors, the replicators and all of that kind of stuff, things that they could do, the teleporters and all of this. I mean, transporters. So you could do all of that, but at the same time, it was the human struggle. It was the human situations in these alien contexts. You had wars going on between alien races and all of this kind of stuff in both series, but just different ways. And so it made me think a lot. It made me look forward to the future when I was young, because it was like, okay, these things are possible. And then as I got older, what happened? We got cell phones that was literally inspired by Star Trek.
Right.
We got
The communicator.
yeah, we literally got all of these things, and we are moving in the direction. We almost pretty much live in like a cashless society. Nowadays you can totally exist in the world and be completely fine without any cash, on a given day. As long as you have a bank account or a debit card or something like that, it's going to that. So just so many things that we draw from that as far as sparking your imagination and inspiration. I always find, for me, that Star Trek was really one of those shows that made me optimistic about the future, kind of thing. Because it was such a positive outlook on the future. Whereas when I looked at it, Star Trek made me look optimistically toward the future. Star Wars was more like a damn Western, but in space. And to me, that was more like a kind of an Indiana Jones type action flick. I didn't get the deepness of it or the depth to it until much later on. It just seemed more like light science fiction for me.
My
Back
whole
in the
house
day.
was the starship. Every time we walked by a door, my mom used to get up. The hell y'all with that damn noise? My mom looked like Uhura, so we'd be in the living room sitting there looking at the TV. Uhura, where we at? I ain't no goddamn Uhura. She looked like her mom. Then we get up and every time we walk through a door, baby. It was funny as hell. She used to be like, damn, this ain't no damn shit. This a house.
Hey man, you was in the zone, dude. In the zone. Shoot.
Yeah, but I actually have to give out the creator of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry. He had a good vision.
Yeah.
It's like let's leave this Earth alone, all its negativity and racial shit. Let's put all these races on a ship, and let's see what we can do together. So this is one of the reasons that I love Star Trek, because you had Sulu, with all the stereotypes of Asians can't drive. You had a Scottish dude who's running your engines. It's supposed to be drinking all the time.
Yeah.
And then you have a Russian Chekhov. I forget what Chekhov actually did, to be honest with you.
Oh man, so
He
you
was
trying to
the
make
weapons and stuff.
Yeah, weapons.
Yeah, that's the Ukraine.
He was Russian.
And then, of course, you can't forget the sister, my mom.
Yeah.
She's on
Communications. Yeah,
Yeah,
communications.
communications. Talk to me,
When they would talk to you,
man. That I honestly have to say, dude. For my entire life, I've had a thing for dark-skinned women, and I could probably point back to her as being the source of that. So, because I remember looking at her on TV, I was like, damn. And I was young, but
Oh,
I was like, yeah, man.
I love Uhura, man. Come on, man.
The curves on that lady, and she's aged well. I've seen her in like recent things that she's done, and she actually has aged very well. She's a good looking woman just across the board. It's like they say, if you beautiful past a certain age, you just gonna be beautiful. You might age, but you just gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, I think it was I don't know what episode, but they actually did the first on TV air, the racial kiss between her and Kurt. So
First interracial kiss on TV. Boy, people lost their mind back then.
Yeah.
That was a big controversy.
But you have to think about Kurt. He was what? Effing fucking green alien bitches. So
Why should black skin at that point make a difference? But of course, that was a projection of the future, not the time that it was aired in. So yeah.
It only lasted 3 years.
And you might be right about that.
Okay, that's enough. I'm trying to be TJ Hooker now. Like,
your ass in jail.
Get your ass in jail. Black bitch.
He couldn't handle it and he felt embarrassed, so he spent the rest of his acting career arresting black folks instead of trying to make out with them. Oh, Lord. But yeah. But for Star Wars, though, I got into Star Wars more when I want to say it was one summer, and I want to say I was probably about like maybe 23, 22, somewhere up in there. And I was just really, I don't remember why, but I was just really bored. And I remember sitting in the house and on cable, they was playing all the Star Wars movies. And I was like, okay. And I started watching them again. I hadn't watched them since I was a kid. And I sat back and I watched the first one and I was like, I don't remember this being this good. You know, I was like, okay. And then I watched the second one and I was like, oh, okay. For some reason, as a child, it never dawned on me that these movies were supposed to be one big story.
Yeah.
I never viewed them that way when I was a kid and I watched the movies. I just viewed them as, oh, cool space movies. You know, they was like, all right. But my brain, for some reason, never understood the bigger story that they were telling through those movies. Like, I recognized characters and stuff, but I was like, oh, okay, I remember that dude. Yeah.
Well, and also you have to remember the time when the first Star Wars movie came out in 1977, and you know it did as well as it did. You had a lot of copycats.
Yeah.
You know, you had Battlestar Galactica. You had Buck Rogers, and those that came out on TV like maybe a year after the first Star Wars. So you had all. So that probably also kind of diluted your interest in it.
The impression it would have made. Yeah.
Because then also, I believe that same year, 78 or 79, when the first Star Trek movie came.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah.
That was the first Star. So it was like 78, 79 when they put the first Star Trek, the motion picture. I think that was
79.
What it was called. So that was the very first. So you had all these pretty much space movies, space shows, and then 1980, Empire Strikes Back came out, and then that same year, not many people remember Flash Gordon.
Oh, dude, I do remember Flash Gordon.
I mean, I remember seeing it as a kid.
Oh, wow.
That was the jam, though. That was Queen.
Hey, man. Okay, you just sparked a memory,
That
dude.
was the Queen, man. That was Queen. Now the Flash, I love the theme song because that was Queen.
Flash.
Because it started off with the beat, though.
Yeah.
I love the beat.
Whenever I hear that, I still picture those bird dudes flying in the battle, and they got their like big ass axes and stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
So that had that had the I guess honor of coming out at the same time as Empire Strikes Back, which of course Empire Strikes Back just killed. But like I said, you had this pretty much, whereas in the 70s, you had the martial arts movie.
Right, yeah.
Like late, 70s to the 80s, you had all these space movies, space adventures, whether it's, movies, whether it's on TV. So
E.T. and what is that movie?
E.T. came out in 82.
Yeah.
Close. That's what I was trying to think of. Close Encounters.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. All of those space movies came out in that same.
Okay. Between 77 to 83.
Alien.
Yeah. The first Alien movie, that was 79. Yeah. So it's like, you had.
That was just the thing going on.
Yeah, that was the new thing. So that's probably why, you were kind of like, Star Wars, okay, it's another space movie.
By the time I actually got to see it, yeah.
So it was like, oh, okay, this is another space movie. Okay, Aliens out. Okay, well, Battlestar Galactica about to come out. Okay.
Yeah. By that point, I've seen space.
Yeah, you've kind of seen different parts of space, whether different planets, where
You got saturated with.
Yeah, it was that's kind of
Star Wars had like a bad guy, Darth Vader, and they brought in that story with him. Because I saw Star Wars the original. I went to the movies. I like space shit.
Right.
And it was cool at the time, but I was still more a Star Trek person.
So I mean, it was
Trekkie.
Yeah, but the funny thing about it, you know, with that first Star Trek movie, as popular as Star Trek was, that first Star Trek movie, I don't know, just it. I remember seeing it as a kid, and it was like this just long, just god awful movie. Man. It's like, okay, this.
I enjoyed it.
No. I mean like God, I'm like the movie was awful. It was just long. You know, it was just you used to the Star Trek. You know, and you do 60 minutes, and it's like okay, within that time, okay, Kirk is, he's on the planet, and you know Kirk's fighting style. He's always doing that.
The karate chop.
And he always got to go. He did that same fighting move that he. So.
Just like the red shirts gotta die.
I was about to say that. I was about to say
you know what I'm
that.
saying?
If a red shirt is being teleported, he's not coming back.
He ain't coming back.
He's not coming back. I see that.
I'm going on a away mission.
Love you.
Yeah, I ain't coming back.
I mean,
Baby, I love you.
Yeah.
They sending me on an away mission.
I'm getting
my
my
shirt
shirt
red.
Spock and all that.
Right.
My last mission. Last mission.
So I mean, you would think the other, I don't know, officers on the ship would kind of notice, like, hey, what shirt you got on? I don't know. I mean, I'm like
every time they go down, if there's a nigga with a red shirt, he don't come back. Have y'all never noticed that? Yeah, man, I was noticing that shit too. You know
what?
Say your shirt red, my shirt red.
Like,
I got a yellow shirt, so I'm good. Yellow shirt.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Bloods in space.
Oh man. But I mean the first movie I remember seeing it, and it was it was different, and the way they did seeing the Enterprise, I always loved that ship, man. I don't care, man.
That ship is classic.
Absolutely love the Enterprise, man, and to see it on the big screen and to see warp drive. Normally on the show you just see the ship just going, but to see it on the screen and you see it and you just see the ship just stretch, and it's like.
That's called money. That's called movie money.
I'm like,
movie money.
Just seeing that. I mean, that's what made me love Star Trek in the movies. I'm like, okay, that's beautiful. I already love the ship, but to see the ship, your favorite ship that you just grew up as a child, I want that ship.
Right.
And to see it do that, and it was like,
mind blowing.
Oh wow, that's what I always remember going to the movies and seeing Star Trek.
What do you think about Wrath of Khan?
Wrath of Khan,
the second movie.
I loved it.
Yes, that's one of my favorite Star Trek movies to this day.
I believe out of all the Star Trek movies, that is my absolute favorite because, I mean, you see, I'm like, okay, this is Mr. Rourke Fantasy Island, but you see it with the pecs and everything. Like, Mr. Rourke got swole.
He had to taco me down through the whole movie. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he was like Mr. Rourke was doing butterflies. And, I mean, he was like, you see with the vest, and got the vest open up, you just see the pet. I'm like, wait a minute, Mr. Rourke, hold on now.
Because he was supposed to be, and if I remember correctly, so he was supposed to be, there was like a genetic war at one point in Earth's history, right?
Yeah.
A gene war, because you had these human beings that were genetically improved, I guess you can say.
Enhanced.
Altered, enhanced. So they were genetically enhanced, so they figured, after a while, I guess enough of them existed where they figured like, okay, we should be running shit.
Mutants.
And so like, we're better than y'all by definition, so we should be running shit. And of course, the regular humans and the enhanced humans had a war, and so Khan and his crew basically just wound up being exiled on a planet. Okay, yeah, that. You see, okay, and I forgot the name of this one, but it was the one where they wound up having to go back in time and save the whales.
That'll be the third.
That was the.
No,
that's the fourth one.
That's the fourth one.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah.
That was always my favorite Star Trek movie growing up, because I like that they tied it in to like an almost, and you got to think about it, that was still in the 80s, I think. And that was
80s.
still tackling an ecological issue even way back then, and tying it into like the future and space travel and all of this kind of stuff. And I love the extent that they went to
save the whales type thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I love the extent that they went to try to make the time travel seem plausible. You know, they took you through a step by step. Okay, we got to figure out how to do this. So we're gonna slingshot around slingshot around the sun or some shit, and do a couple of other things. And they had to do all of this stuff to be able to get up to enough speed to be able to break the speed of light, so they could actually travel back in time. It was like they really tried to go in depth with the science, and I was like, as a kid, I remember thinking, could they really do this? Like, is that possible? Like, if we could get a ship up there, could we do that? And I'm like, because that sounds believable. And that was the thing to me, for me anyway. Star Trek was always had, because they wrapped everything in or tried to make it plausible science, it made everything more enjoyable for me, because I could just say, okay, I'm running with y'all because you making this make sense, so I don't have to question why certain things exist the way they do. I can just accept what you're showing me and roll with it, you know. And that was the thing for me that Star Trek always did really well. The especially in the later shows, when you got into Next Generation. When Next Generation first came out and I started watching it, I fell in love with Star Trek all over again. Because first of all, Picard was just the man. He is
Stewart,
my favorite captain.
He did that.
I know that's cliche as hell, but hey, man, the man played the role. He did an extremely good job, and he was the embodiment of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. And so that show made me fall in love with it all over again, and that just made me go, okay. And then everything in that show, particularly because Captain Picard was the kind of captain that he wasn't out fighting niggas. He wasn't like Kirk. He wasn't getting into scuffles every episode. He was out thinking his opponents. He was making his opponents. When he came, he fought Q.
Yeah.
You know, a damn near omnipotent being who can change reality at will, and he managed to get out of, pull his crew out of that shit unscathed.
And then also Whoopi Goldberg, Guinan. Actually, I like that character.
Dude, that was actually one of my favorite characters because she was such a mystery.
Yeah,
you know,
because she's like you don't know how old she is, and her race,
or where she's come from.
I read online somewhere that the race that she comes from, they don't have a name for, but they're like extremely rare and extremely long-lived. But they're the victims of a war, and they're like they're just the last few of their race that's left. I don't remember, unfortunately, what the race was called, but I think they're like, the idea they said is, as far as anyone knows, she's the last one of her kind, because she hasn't seen another one of her, whatever she is.
And then also being at the time being loose term raped by the Borg, so her race has been scattered so far and wide.
There's a lot of when you get into the Borg.
It's a little different.
That was
as
a concept. Okay, just roll with me for a minute. So, okay, the Borg as a concept is terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Simulation.
A cybernetic race that believes in assimilation of all things, and because they're so adaptive, they're damn near impossible to beat in a fight. What?
Hive mentality.
What?
That hive mentality.
It's like, dude, that when they first introduced the Borg, I literally was watching the show and I thought to myself, well, if you just gonna do that, then that's gonna end the show. Cause how you gonna beat them?
Yeah. Right.
Well, actually, if you think about it, Q actually introduced the crew to from Picard's crew. Was like, okay, do you really want to go? Do you really think that you know everything? And as far as what your known perception of the universe is. Let me take you here. Let me introduce you to this shit.
Let me show you something that's gonna really show you have no clue what's out there.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to give it to her. Captain Janeway on Star Trek Voyager. She had to deal with the Borg way more than anybody. You know.
Your favorite?
Oh,
Voyager. It
Okay,
took me
wait.
a minute to get to Voyager.
now hold on. Because if we're gonna talk about Voyager, I just have to nod to my boo, my bae, 7 of 9. Let's just bask in the glory that is 7 of 9 for a moment, because that woman was bad. I mean, they literally, and this is canon. So this is what she's actually said in the interviews. The costume that she wore was 2 sizes too small. They purposely wanted it skin tight, so it would show off her figure. Because, and matter of fact, I forgot her real name. The actress that played Janeway,
Yeah, she hated
her.
that shit. She
hated her
that shit.
because
Real
she,
life?
yes,
Yes.
in real life, she
couldn't
hated her.
understand each
They
other.
couldn't get along because basically, from what I understand of it, and again, this is just what people have reported, is that she viewed like her being in such a skimpy costume basically,
she basically
was like
got on
bringing
the show.
down the show.
It undermined her, a woman being in,
Being
pretty
the
much,
captain.
being power. I'm the captain, this and this, and now you're bringing.
But see, and see, the thing about it is because they made 7 of 9 so passionless. Like, she was just such a wall because she was Borg for most of her life.
Data.
Right, she was a female Data essentially.
It was pretty much the next Data.
But at the same time, in a way, it toned down the sexiness a bit because you wasn't getting no, like flirty kind of attitude to go along with the body you looking at.
There was no emotion.
Right. So to me, even when I was younger and watching that show, I mean, yeah, of course, I acknowledged she was fine, but I wasn't just like drooling over her because in a way you didn't look at her like that. She was just more like, okay, she's in my mind anyway, I always thought of her as a trauma victim because I just looked at her as like all the shit that she would have had to have endured as a Borg, the implants and the things you would have to have done, and Lord knows how they ate or reproduced or any of that stuff, so you never know. But those kind of things was like made me always think of her character as like somebody who needed to be healed, and that's what it seems like they focused on more with her character than just, okay, yeah, she had a nice body, but it wasn't the main everything they did with that character made you kind of look aside from that, and it was really, to me, in my opinion, it was really great writing that made that character so interesting.
Now I'm just gonna mention this one. Then we need to start talking about Star Wars. But in Voyager, I actually did like the artificial doctor.
Oh, the hologram, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I forgot his name, but yeah, he was. Because every times I'd be watching, I'd forget that he was a hologram, but he was so interactive. Yeah, it's like
Once they got the mobile emitter and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and he was able to move around the ship,
yeah.
he was a crew member.
Remember, it was like okay, it's like I'm like, oh yeah, he's right, he's in a hologram. I'm like, wait a minute.
But see, and that was another Data.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That was another Data, another artificial life form wanting to be real.
A program that was supposed to be an emergency, but now.
Do you remember when they went to that whole planet where everybody was holograms, essentially?
Yeah, he didn't want to leave.
Right. He was about ready to get married and settle down and have some damn kids.
Wouldn't you? I planted a me.
So like, I wonder how holograms
That would
have
have worked.
Well, programming. Couple of extra zeros and ones. Shit, I don't know.
Girl, let me give you this light beam. No. let me give you this lightsaber, girl. Ooh.
More like.
Speaking of which, now we get to lightsabers. Star Wars.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I always wanted a lightsaber.
And
Well, you know that one dude did create a real life lightsaber. Now it it was a like a plasma beam,
Yeah.
essentially, but it had like a cord. It had to be attached to a power pack.
Of course.
Which, interestingly enough, if you look into Star Wars lore, the original Jedi's used lightsabers that had a power pack connection before they learned how to
Yes.
make the
Yes.
energy source out of the crystal.
The kyber crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before they learned how to make the energy source out of those crystals, they used to carry around a backpack or like a power pack for the lightsabers. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So we're there.
But the thing is, I actually kind of like Spielberg's interpretation of a lightsaber.
Yeah.
It's not actually light,
No, it's a plasma beam. It would have to be able to.
but
do the
he's
thing
like,
that it
no,
does.
lightsaber. Like, no, light doesn't actually.
it
does
glows.
this shit. Yeah.
It does glow. In fact. So yeah. But man, that was the part of Star Wars that, of course, I think for most kids caught our attention before anything else.
What is that? It's like, yeah. I mean, you always remember that that scene. Like just word for word. You know, it was like, you know, Obi-Wan, I would expect him to get again. You know.
Yeah.
You know, the circuit is now complete. When I left you, I was but a learner, but now I'm a master. And then they were like, she was like, okay, what is that? You know, you're like,
Did he just pull out a lightsaber?
what is that?
You know,
it's-
first time I saw a lightsaber, you know what I immediately thought of, and I'm gonna make you laugh. Thunder the Barbarian.
Oh man, yes.
Let's not
The
go
Sun
there.
Sword,
The Sun Sword. Yes, man. Yes.
man.
You know what? We've
Lamont.
we've talked about this before, but we're gonna have to do a Hanna-Barbera show. We need to do a Hanna-Barbera show. So
That was the show.
we might have to do that for y'all. If y'all like old school cartoons, I think we can have an interesting conversation about some old school cartoons. But all right, okay. But yeah, the first time I saw a lightsaber, dude, I was just like, okay, this just got interesting. It's like, what are they doing? And then next thing you know, them niggas start boom, 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 boom.
And it's like the sound. It was like, like, like.
And it was
You
like
never
nothing
heard
you had
anything-
ever heard
never
before,
heard
right?
anything like, wait a minute. Okay, they're swords, but it's light, and you know every time they hit, it make that enough.
The electrical spark.
Like, okay, like, right. Okay,
And then it like cut through some metal or something. Like, oh shit.
Whoa.
Not just any metal. I'm talking about it cutting deep and
Deep.
just like it's nothing.
It's
But that's what I'm saying. It was just one of those things. It was a weapon that weapon caught your attention.
It was literally a hot knife through butter. It was like,
Yeah.
I'm like
When the niggas would start deflecting fucking,
laser beams.
you know, blaster fire, you just like, wait a minute, what? And then, but of course back then, I didn't understand really what a Jedi was and everything a Jedi could do and why a Jedi could do what they could do. So it was all, you know, back then you didn't get that, at least I didn't get that understanding. I know that they had books and stuff that went more into depth, but at that time I wasn't reading Star Wars fantasy, so I didn't understand a lot of the lore. It wasn't until later on, like learning about the Wookiees and like the planet they come from and all of this kind of stuff. That stuff makes it all so much more interesting. We did an episode recently about video games, and one of my favorite video games was Knights of the Old Republic, the original Knights of the Old Republic. I played the shit out of that game, and it was fun, and it was a cool like world and story and everything, and that stuff like that really started getting me into Star Wars and the lore behind it a lot more. If you take the time and you learn some of that stuff, it makes the world that they've created make a lot more sense. And
Before you go on, what got me really, not just the lightsabers, but the TIE fighters and the X-Wings.
oh yeah,
Woo!
See,
When I saw the X-Wings,
I
and
got-
that,
see, I got to tell you about that. That was the first ship I wanted an X-Wing fighter so bad. I want an X-Wing fighter.
Speak up, little bro.
I was praying for I want an X-Wing fighter. I want an X-Wing fighter. I want to tell you, man, Christmas 1983 came around. I was like, when I got up early in the morning, went in the living room, saw like a ship. I'm like, open it up. It was a TIE fighter. I opened that rascal up, man, put it together, and I was like, X-Wing what? I fell in love with the TIE fighter. I love the sound that the TIE fighters make because they always make like a roaring sound. It's like
Almost a whooshing.
it's like
and-
it's like I love that sound because it's like, okay, because that sound like, okay, it's like death is coming at you. It's
Right.
like they about to
It's screeching
destroy
at you like a
Yeah.
like a bird of prey.
Yeah, it's like a metallic banshee. Okay, it's about to destroy some stuff. And I love, I to this day I love all TIE Fighter. I don't care for the New Order. I'm talking about
Keep
just
up
the
with
classics.
those.
I love all the classics from the episodes 4, 5, and 6. I love
I know
those.
we all script, but can you keep up with us? Good.
So I mean, it's like, yeah, I fell in love with that shit. I'm like, cause like I said, I either wanted the X-wing or a Millennium Falcon. But when I got a TIE wing in my hand, I'm like, no, you know what? I'm good right here.
Yeah.
I'm good.
And see, and I wound up getting both, but I got the TIE Fighter first. And then I wound up getting the X-Wing a little bit later. I want to say like maybe I think the following year for Christmas.
Yeah.
But when I got my TIE Fighter, I thought I wanted an X-Wing until I got a TIE Fighter. And I was
Exactly.
like, yes.
I was like, you know what?
I was like, yeah.
This is.
Because I had the one where like the pod in the middle was probably about that big. And so the wings came out to like here.
Mhm.
And so I was just like,
Yeah.
oh man.
Yeah.
And then you hit that one button and the wings could pop
pop
off. Yeah.
Yes. Right, man. I loved it, man. I was like, I don't care about any of this shit. This is what I mean, I was like, I fell in love with that
Man,
shit.
but I fell in love with the PlayStation game. Los actually played with me with this. We can do
The squadrons.
the squadrons, the Star Wars squadrons. You can
Okay.
either be on the dark side or the other
You
side.
be the rebels of the Republic.
Imperial. Oh,
And then you can either pick from the X-wings or you can go TIE fighters.
oh,
You can actually
Yeah.
be flying together. So you can be a
Yes.
TIE fighter, X-wing, go do what
And-
you had to do. So you can fly whatever one you want.
In full space. I'm talking about just.
So you actual dog fighting.
Yes.
You're going
Wow.
you have to go after one of them big old triangle-like ships.
The
Star
the
Destroyers.
They
Star
got
Destroyers.
coming out like crazy.
Star
You and your
Destroyers,
people,
man.
your
Like-
squadron, you gotta go fight them. So y'all go fight them while we go kill this. You had to work together. That shit was hard to drive.
But it was
That
fun.
shit was hard to drive.
But it was fun.
I would imagine because
Yeah.
you in a full 3D environment where you just can go up, down, left, right, top,
Yes.
bottom, everything.
No, man, it was hard to control that thing.
I bet it was.
I bet you probably get a headache when you first start playing that
It
game.
was funny, no, because it was funny because normally when we play games like that, Ron and Rug, Bobby, they can fly things good. I always have trouble on that. They had trouble. I was doing great. Made no sense. It made no sense.
It just came natural to
I
you.
was just flying it. Maybe it's from playing No Man's Sky. or
I've heard
something.
that you play No Man's Sky.
It was good, and they were like, man, Ron was like, man, I said, dude, every time we every kind of playing game, you go off. He said, I can't control this. I was like, I can't.
Okay. Total side note, but I'm gonna ask you a question, Los, to see if you remember this. There was a movie that came out a long time ago. This was probably mid '80s, I want to say, and it was called The Last Starfighter.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
Where the dude played the video game, and because he was able to beat the video game, the aliens came down and was like, "Hey, you got the skill to be a pilot in our war. Come on, let's go. We taking you up to space to fight,
Wouldn't that be crazy?
dude. You could be that dude. You could be that
Right, I
dude."
said, you know, yeah, that's almost like in the Stargate universe.
Right?
They had that game, and they were looking for someone smart enough to crack it. And that one kid was the one who did it. The government came in, but you got to come with us.
Yeah.
Why? What did I do? I just played the game. But when you got there, they were like, look, that shit is real. We need you to figure this
Oh,
shit
what I
out.
think the name of the
War
War
Games.
Games? Yeah, War Games.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah.
What with the Matthew
Matthew
Broderick?
Broderick?
Yeah, War Games.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah, because I remember that movie. Shall we play a game? Yeah, I always remember. But it's like I said, like, just during that period, man, like from, late 70s out to mid 80s, you had all these, space
Space
movies
was the
or,
thing,
you know,
yeah.
or computer games. Like, you think even Tron. Tron was
right.
like ahead of its time,
Yes,
although,
it was.
it's notoriously known for bombing at the box office. But I mean, it was something we had never seen before. I'm like,
Right.
man, I want one of those light cycles, man. I'm
Right,
like, are
right.
you
Just
kidding
about
me?
to say
Cool
that.
as
Yeah.
fuck.
I'm like, man, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean-
Now, what did y'all think? Watching your Star Wars, that's what I call it, Star Wars. When you found out that Darth Vader was Luke's dad.
man, I was tripping.
Because that's like nobody knew that at the time, right?
Right.
No,
That was.
I'm gonna tell you, I remember seeing Empire Strikes Back at the movies. I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm thinking like, okay, it's gonna turn around. Okay, the good guys are gonna get it in the moment. Okay, they're about to turn it around. It's like it seemed like they just the whole movie they just kept on the run. They just running. And then you seeing Luke go after Darth Vader. I said, okay, Luke he's gonna go in. He's gonna handle his business.
Luke, I am your father.
And then he, he
Luke,
thinking
I am your father.
doing his thing, and then Darth Vader's just. I always look at how Darth Vader was just handling him. It was like, dude, like, wait a minute, he's fighting you with one hand. It's like that's not even fair, man. It was like Luke. I mean, he just swinging. I mean, just wild, both hands. He just one handed, just
boy, calm down.
like, just like, okay, I got this. And then he's just using the force. He's throwing machinery at him, and then it's like, and then in the process, I'm looking and just see he just get his hand cut off. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought that's supposed to be the bad guy.
That's the hero. The hero
that's the hero not supposed to lose a hand. It was something you had never seen before. It's like the good guys lost,
Right.
and that's what. And I think when I was young at first, I did not like Empire Strikes Back to seeing it, but after watching it, it was like looking at the storyline. I said, man, hold up, the good guys lost. And I said, this is different, man. The bad guys won, but it's not just a bad guy. This is, to me, probably one of the most cinematic, greatest villains of all time on the on the cinematic screen. And he wasn't one of the guys just yelling and shouting, "Silence!" Seize them. He was like the coolest villain I had ever seen in my life. Yeah. Man, he was just calm.
And then to be voiced by James Earl Jones, it's
perfect.
like.
And then the fact that you could kill someone over the telephone, it's like
that was okay.
My soul, Lord.
Look,
we just
honestly, let's be real. That was some pimp shit.
That was real.
That was some pimp shit. Like,
it was like,
bitch, you gonna talk back to me?
But
I mean, it's just when he killed the guy on the phone, he said, "You have failed me for the last time." It's like. He's like on the screen looking at him, and he's just choking him to death. With not even in the same room, not even in the same area, but the fact that you doing that, it's killing him. But then giving orders to the new guy, he said, "I want you to be admiral now," and he's still killing this guy while he's talking. I'm like,
but see, like, and as a kid, I didn't get it. I didn't get what they were doing then. Was showing you the power of Darth Vader. Like. This dude was so strong in the Force, he could reach you across space and
all he had to do was just see you. Like,
right.
Just,
Oh, that's where you are?
Okay. That's just that metachlorine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just...
All right, but what do you think about... Because we're talking about the original Star Wars. What do you think about the iterations of the different movies?
The newer movies? And some of the offshoots?
Yeah. Like with Rey and
Rogue One was awesome.
Yes,
I love Rogue One.
I agree with you on that. Rogue One was good.
I love Rogue One.
Rogue One was good.
I have all the actual movies except the last one. I have not gotten that one yet. I've seen it, but Rogue One to me was like the perfect outside movie. I mean, just how they just segued that between episode 3 and episode 4. That was like, it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the movie opens up and, it's years after episode 3 and it's like, everybody, you can see the mood of it. Everyone's down because, democracy is dead. Emperor's on the throne. He's taking over.
The world's just, the universe really is, it's in a bad place.
Bad place. And they segued that so perfectly into to the end of it, where they were trying to get the plans to this new weapon, which finally, of course, is the first Death Star.
Yeah.
And just perfect.
What did you think about when they actually forget the name of the movie because I'm a Trekkie, sorry, but when they brought in I forget the name of the movie when the return of Mark Hamill as far as the role of Luke Skywalker.
For the Mandalorian.
No. I think he's talking about in the movies. So when they brought in Rey, that was Force Awakens,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And then I think
Force Awakens, and then The Last Jedi, and
Mark
Yeah.
Hamill came in that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, The Last Jedi.
Yeah. So that was when they reintroduced Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill.
well, it's
as
actually
Skywalker.
at the end of at the very end of.
Oh yeah,
Force Awakens.
that's right. That's
It
right.
was at the
Yeah.
very end.
Yeah, he was the last scene, and you got to see him and go like, what? And then when they started the next movie, he was had a much larger role. But I don't know. The stories with Ray,
To me,
I didn't dig them all that much.
Yeah.
They seemed
Now-
like a wasted opportunity.
now the Force Awakens, I like that one. I like that one but the writing was on the wall. To me, they killed Han Solo. I was like, wait a minute. Because I looked at it and then, to see the very next movie, it's like, wait a minute, you guys, and then the last one, which, to me, the last one, to me, kind of made up for The Last Jedi. Because The Last Jedi, they were like kind of all over.
Yeah,
It was
that
like,
story
okay,
really didn't make much
okay,
sense.
wait a minute. Okay, what direction are you guys going in? I'm like, are you trying to Empire Strikes Back it, or are you trying to, like, what is, like...
And then it was like they couldn't make up their mind what they wanted to do, even with
do.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, is he a Sith or is he something else? What?
Is he in conflict? Are he and Rey working together? Or, like, is he trying to lure her over to the dark side?
Yeah.
Or is she trying to reason with him and Leia was trying to reason with him to bring him back to the light side?
To be in that whole series of movies, it seems like they were trying to do too much and weren't doing any of it well.
But the bottom line to me in those three, like, okay, you guys just took a dump on what the rebels did in 4, 5, and 6. It's like you guys just dumped on everything that they worked for. It's like you killed off the entire fleet from Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. All them fleet of ships all them gone, destroyed. You just killed everybody off. Like,
huh?
Like, wait a minute. Okay, that didn't make any sense.
Like, how did they lose that bad?
Yeah, it was like, wait a minute. They just destroyed the second Death Star, which was supposed to be more powerful than the first. They come up this tremendous victory, only to come to. So it also kind of like thought I was kind of leery when George Lucas sold the rights over to Disney. I was like,
Yeah.
because the first thing I thought about is I said, man, okay, if you guys have Jedi coming in here looking like Power Rangers, I'm mad because and not knocking Disney about everything, but they have this habit of bringing in younger people. Hey, let's do this, let's reboot, and they want to make everybody young. It's like, okay, because you notice all the older characters took a back seat, a way back seat,
Yeah.
back seat, back of the bus,
Mhm.
backyard,
Yeah.
to
But I mean, in a way, they had no choice because if you think about it, they waited so long to do these other movies that all the original actors, of course, were old as
Open
dirt. Carrie Fisher and
Rest in peace.
what you call them,
Yeah.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
They're all old now, so you
Well, I
had to
mean,
find a
I
way
know,
to try to
but-
make it to try to tie those characters in, but with the focus being on younger actors. Because if you want to keep going with a series, you gotta have young
Yeah,
actors.
true.
Although nowadays that's as the whole Luke Skywalker thing in the Mandalorian. I mean, in Boba Fett, that whole like episode essentially shows you nowadays we can literally just make an actor young again.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is the question I wanted to ask.
Okay.
The Obi-Wan. Because, they're coming out with Obi-Wan.
That
Right.
series, yeah.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Probably another one of those that they probably should have done a long time ago.
Yeah.
because I look at Solo. I don't know if you guys seen
Han Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The newer one?
Yeah.
the
I
movie.
like that.
That one was good.
I actually like that.
It was the movie. It was, as a standalone, Solo was good, but they jacked up the timeline. Tell you why. You remember at the end, the lady that was working with Solo when she went off, and then you see Darth Maul.
Hmm.
That jacked up the timeline.
Because Darth Maul shouldn't have been there.
Darth Maul shouldn't have been, or at least Solo should not have been there
Yeah.
in Darth Maul's time. Think about it. If Darth Maul is in existence, Anakin is only like 10 years old from episode 1.
Yeah.
So, and Luke is younger than Han, but basically you have, Han and Leia get married. So, but you basically,
The time.
he's older than Darth Vader.
The time. The
Yeah.
time skip is the
Now,
time.
according to this list that I'm about to put up, they got them in order, and it goes episode 1, 2. From 2, they go to Clone Wars, back to episode 3, and then to Solo.
And then the
Then
what?
they to Solo.
Okay.
And then they go to some other one, I forget what it says there. And then another one before that, then you go to Star Wars, some other shit.
So they have
They
Solo.
got 18 of
So
them.
they have Solo after episode 3.
after yes, because it's episode 1, 2. Clone Wars is between 2 and 3, and then Solo, and then there's one in between Solo. Like timeline, there's one in there now.
Okay.
Can't quite see what
Okay,
the
so
name
that might
is.
be either so there's possibly a clone
Obi-Wan.
of Darth Maul,
They
or
have Solo, and then Obi-Wan is in between Solo, according to this list that's up there right now.
Okay. Interesting.
How's it? How's how
That's
that?
it.
So Obi-Wan's gonna fit. So that's the time period we're looking at.
so Obi-Wan is basically after Solo.
Yes.
So
That's
then,
what I'm saying.
but what you're saying still holds true though, because so that's making Solo way older than Luke and Leia would have been.
Unless that's supposed to be a clone, because they've been working with clones, and I saw a clip of one of the 3D cartoons. I guess it's the Clone War. They showed Darth Maul with a mechanical bottom half, because he was cut in half
Yeah.
Yeah.
by Obi-Wan in episode 1.
Right.
Unless this could be that Darth Maul with the
Cutting with the lower half.
With the-
I remember reading reading some stuff about it, saying that's eventually that he didn't die in that fight, even though he did get cut in half.
half.
He was able to use the Force and basically keep himself alive long enough to get to somewhere where he could have a mechanical lower body attached.
I need the force.
Which was kind of seeing that in Boba Fett with the assassin. She got shot in the stomach, and he took her and had her parts put in to preserve her life.
Yeah.
So, and of course, we saw it all throughout with Luke with his hand, with Anakin with pretty much his whole body.
And yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Darth Vader's whole suit thing was a real cybernetic, but you didn't realize that. It's so funny that we didn't realize that. To us, when we first watched it, he was just a dude in a suit.
In a suit. It's
We
like-
didn't understand that,
we just thought-
why he was in that suit.
Then they showed them all burnt up.
Yeah.
All right, cause we've been talking about
Yeah,
Star
so
Wars
we-
for a minute.
Wrap it up. Yeah. So.
Yeah, because I actually want to get out some, because I'm a Trekkie. Honorable mentions, check out on Prime, Picard. And then there's another series that's coming out.
That's on Paramount, not Prime.
It's Paramount? My bad.
Card. Yeah.
Picard, and also Captain Pike, which is...
That might start today or this week.
Yeah, I think it starts this week.
Right. If not today, I think Friday.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then let me also
Christopher
mention
Pike?
too
Yeah,
that
they started that series.
we are filming this on the first night that Moon Knight came out too on Disney Plus. So be sure and check that out. We're
And
gonna be
also-
30th. The 30th. Today's 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be checking it out here. So probably on the next Mo session,
And also Morbius.
yeah, Morbius comes out is it
On the
no
first.
on the first, yeah. So on the first. So yeah, if you want to keep up with us, because when we talk about it, we do spoilers. So just go ahead and get that first episode under your belt on Moon Knight and go buy your tickets for Morbius this weekend, and we'll talk about it on the next smoke session. So thank you for joining us as always. Again, I'm Brother Jam.
This is our guest right here. What's
This
his
is
name?
David Wilson.
And your boy Black here.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Good job.
And your boy Bobby Blackhand
Low, brother Low, son.
on the back on the cams.
And thank you for joining us as always. This is the Daily Smoke Sessions, and we are out. Peace.
Peace.